So I would like to say hi and to Glen Grant, my very good friend, and I'm very happy to have Glen on YouTube. And we've met a long time ago on the Ukrainian Defense Forum, and I'm very happy and honored and very happy for your help and what you're doing for Ukraine. It's a great support for having more weapons and to speed up Ukrainians' victory. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
My
And
pleasure.
yes, so it's priceless. And my question to you was, what is your perception of Ukraine abroad? You have already mentioned that for sure a lot of foreigners are talking about corruption, about the corrupted scandals that we have here in Ukraine, but for sure a lot of people support Ukrainians as a nation, so as ordinary people. And what else are telling your people that you're talking with?
I think obviously people are getting a bit worried that it's going to go on for a long time, but that worry is as much about themselves almost, that it will, if it goes on for a long time, it's going to spread, and it's going to end up in other countries. Certainly here in Latvia, there is a distinct unease about what is going on, especially as there is a lot of I don't know what you could call it, hybrid warfare. Let's call it hybrid warfare, from all different ways of attacking Latvia at the moment. So the length of time that it's going on worries people. And the other thing, as I said, is this the political class, many of whom are worried about how long they're going to have to give their own taxpayers money, without, I think, really understanding the security issues that their taxpayers' money is being spent to save their taxpayers, not just Ukrainian people. And there is an understanding of that, I think, quite well in the frontline states of Finland, the Baltic states, Poland, Slovakia. I think they grasp quite well that this is important, which is why Slovakia is going the other way at the moment, because wherever there is a problem, you can find Russian money. It's Russian money and influence. It's as simple as that. So outside, I think the support is quite strong, but it needs to be actually reinforced over the winter, and I think that's important. And it does come back to this one thing that I've talked about many times, which is the quality of the diplomats that are sent abroad. And if the diplomats are not good, then you lose a huge amount. A high quality diplomat who mixes and matches around and is seen around and meets people and drinks with people and talks and spreads the word is worth a fortune. Is worth a fortune. And if they can work well with if you have a good defense attaché and they can work well with the defense ministry, then there are a lot more things that are possible to get, and a lot more ways of working that are not being explored at the moment. So I think that that is really important to keep the thing going, is choosing high quality people to go abroad for the country.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because the Ukrainian diplomats, the Ukrainians that are going outside, they're very important for spreading the right information and to talk to the right people, to get this as much support as possible, to talk to those who do not agree with supporting Ukraine. Go there and talk to them, drink with them, I don't know, and persuade them every minute they have. Yes, it works. It's I had such kind of experience in 2000. 2017, I was trying to go abroad, to go and talk to investors, but it should be done by the government. It should be done by the state, by diplomats. They have the whole authorities to do that, and this is what we as the Ukrainian taxpayers are waiting to do from them. This is a very important issue. And thank you very much for following my page and the post that I'm posting. Thank you very much for the support. I truly believe that fighting corruption is as much important as fighting the external enemy, and even much more important, because of corruption the war started. If we will be the most wealthiest country in Europe, as we were in 1991, one of the most wealthiest, and if we had the weapons that we gave to Russia, if we got all that top 3 military potential in the world as we had, I think the war will not stop. It's interesting to hear your perception, so the connection between corruption and the war.
Well, I mean, those two things are absolutely totally linked. On your argument of whether the war would or would not have started, I think you've got to take into account also the fifth columnists, which are still strong inside Ukraine. And I think that it may well have started. It may well have started because of the fifth columnists, and equally, you may well have lost at that stage because of the fifth columnists, because definitely the army was undermined completely, and there are some would argue still is in some areas. Because the number of weapons you have does not necessarily mean how good you are actually at delivering if you get the wrong orders, and we saw this in 2014, that that actually there was ample force around Crimea to have kicked the little green men in the crutch and got rid of them. But it didn't happen because the orders didn't happen, and so one shouldn't look at that. Now, corruption is not only part of the war starting, but is a major part at the moment of the war continuing. I would like to look at it in sort of 3 areas. And if I talk about it in 3 areas, if you're happy for me to roll through those.
Yeah, it will be very important.
Okay, well, I mean, the first one is straightforward, is cash. Cash is king. And the amount of money that's being taken out of the economy is huge. And we know that. We see it every week. The SBU show us every week these piles of money all on the floor and on tables and everywhere. And of course, that money is directly not in some brigade somewhere. And that means that that money is night sights, it's ammunition, it's weapons, it's everything. So that side of corruption just means that volunteers actually have to find more, because the government money is being leached out of the system, and badly so in some places. And I mean, since the war started, I would like someone to have actually sat down, and maybe someone has done it, and worked out all the money that the SBU has found. And then the second one then is I'd like someone to tell me where it went.
Yes.
And what weapons did that money buy, and what night sights and what drones and everything else. I'm sure someone knows, but it would make a good public story to believe. Then people would see the link directly, that money stolen is a death of a soldier. It's a death of a soldier. Every person who pays money is killing a soldier. There's no question. Not just one in some cases, 10 or 20. and it should be looked on like that. So people who are corrupt and who are taking money should not just be charged with corruption or something. They should be charged with aiding and abetting murder, because that's what they're doing. And there isn't, there should be no weakness in that side. The second thing about corruption is lost time, and time is the most precious resource after money in this case. And why are we talking about losing time? Well, let's look at the SBU just for one thing. They should be doing counterintelligence. What are they doing? Chasing corruption. Management that should be working on how to get the best drones to the front line, or how to get the best new equipment. They're working on how to put the most money in their own pockets. So the management side of a system, especially in the Ministry of Defence in the last 10 years, the management side of the system is not actually working towards winning the war. It's working towards lining people's pockets. And when they're doing that, you're losing time. Badly, you're losing time. And there are spin-offs to this, because if you're a private drone company and you're having problems with the Defence Ministry, you are losing your business. And that means you're losing tax. You're losing money, which means that you can't pay as much tax, maybe can't pay any tax, because the delay in the Ministry of Defence, instead of saying, produce 300 of those by the end of the week, they're saying, oh, dear me, you need to fill in form 247, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll ask them if they think it's a good idea, and so on and so forth. This is losing money, and it's killing people. Again, so the second thing. The third thing about corruption is nepotism, and this is I would call it more moral corruption. It's not just corruption of the money, it's corruption of the soul. It's choosing people to do jobs because you want them to be corrupt. You want them to help you. It's choosing the wrong people because they're your friends. And this is as much corruption as anything else, because if you put the wrong brigade commander in, who's just, well, he went to school with me or something like that, that also kills people.
Yes.
In fact, it kills a lot of people. And I think that, when you, and that's happening a lot, and does happen a lot, that the wrong people are chosen for the wrong reasons, not the bright young things. I mean, how many of our bright young brigade commanders do we now see as generals? I'm not sure that's happening, but it should have been. The old school should have been moved back to run the training, and the youngsters should have been put in charge of the fighting, because it's youngsters. It's a young man's sport, this, and it should only be youngsters, young heads, young brains doing the business. So, but when you add those three together, then suddenly you've got this massive log jam, this massive block on the military system that actually reduces the effectiveness of the fighting by, I don't know, 30%, something like that, at least. So you're looking at 30%. In my military judgment, that corruption is probably working towards 30% more casualties, more dead people than we should be having. And if we could actually cut that corruption out, so that we streamline everything towards, proper, all the money going the right way, everything, it will be a much, much, much stronger fighting force than we have at the moment. And the frontline boys would not be, the volunteers could be looking for the, you might say, the cherry on top of the cake, not just actually trying to make the cake, which they are at the moment. So lots of those things that government should be making and doing are stopped by corruption, and then the public has to do the dirty work to compensate for that. That's where we are, and I'm sorry, but I don't see that.
I totally agree.
And I don't see that authorities doing anything to stop it. I mean, the SBU is running around and catching people. Yes, much better than they've ever done before. but it's still not enough. And it doesn't seem to be deterring people from making bad decisions left, right, and centre. Corruption of the soul on roads, corruption of the soul on building new buildings so we can get a rake off. It's not stopping those things happening, which means that if government wants it to stop, government must change the laws, and the laws must become much more draconian for this. It shouldn't be 6 or 7 or 2 years or 3 years. It should be life.
Yes, and people will support it.
Yeah, and people will support it. There should be an amnesty of 24 hours or 48 hours during which you hand back all the money that you've stolen.
Yes.
And and if you don't hand it back, then after that, and you're caught, it's life imprisonment. Maybe 3 days, because we'd need the 3 days to collect it all.
Yes.
Because there would be so much, especially from some of the real corruptors with the big money through building and infrastructure and things. But that's my general feeling to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for the nepotism, it's killing lives. It's killing lives with unprofessional people, not only, especially in army, but not only in army, but also in the government. When we see the friends that I pointed to, the head of the anti-corruption committee, or a friend, or to the judge, to the court system, or everywhere. So, and the only criteria that can be implemented and linked to the government's position should be honesty and professionalism. This is the only thing. Yes.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That's all. That's all.
And you don't even have to have 2 legs to do that.
Yes. We have a lot of heroes that do not have legs, but they are much more clever, more
and a lot of them don't have jobs at the moment.
Yes.
And we need to find ways of getting them working, because they are a huge resource for the country.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes.
Because they have the right attitude.
They have the trust of people also, like the huge trust. The highest trust for the whole history of Ukraine is to military man and woman. So it's the highest trust. We never got this kind of trust to any government institution or any kinds of institution for the whole history. People really think that military and servicemen are heroes, and this is true. They're true heroes.
And of course, a lot of them are their family and friends, and so they're voting for themselves in a strange way. It's their family and friends. So yes, and I quite understand that vote. And thank God it is so high, and hopefully it stays that way.
Glenn, also it's very interesting, these 3 points about the corruption. I think maybe I will be even more pessimistic than you. I think it's even more than 30%, and it's huge number. So it's human lives. It's priceless. There is nothing else much more important that's the life of people. And also, what is your perception of the next steps of the American and European politicians? Because now, for example, for sure, like US is in this kind of shift between the budget process, and we're waiting for the budget approved in the several weeks.
I mean, October is always like this. I mean, when I've done contract work for US, and frequently it's been postponed and sometimes even cut because of this budget October farce that comes around every year. So that isn't to be I'm going to say that isn't to be worried about, because I think in general that both houses are pretty strong behind Ukraine. But what is more worrying, in a way, is if countries, and I'm thinking of people like Germany, start to use delay as a tool to actually to try and get the Zelensky to actually to take corruption seriously. And I know that there are a lot of people who could invest in Ukraine, but won't do so yet, until they actually see that if they do invest, then there's something sensible about it. Thank goodness for those organizations, businesses that are already starting to do something. But it's still that is a worry. That's the worry that the US will do it. I mean, it'd be far better if US just opened the intelligence, and gave the Ukrainian public clearly what they know, because I'm sure
They know everything.
they know that. Well, no, they may not know everything,
Yeah, but
but
nobody knows.
they'll certainly know a lot more than you and I do.
Yes.
And the US Treasury is a pretty sharp organization, probably the best intelligence organization in the world, which we might have said Mossad until until a week ago. But I think that US Treasury knows a lot, and I think that giving that information to the president is a waste of time.
Yes.
We've seen that. It's just giving, frankly, either he's too cocooned and he's not being told the truth, or he is being told the truth and then other people are telling him it's not true, don't believe it, or whatever. But it's not having any effect. We don't see any effect. There is no effect. There's no strength in the force of cutting corruption. In fact, if anything, it seems to be allowing it to drift on as before. So it will be interesting to see what the Americans do, and whether they treat society separately from the Ukrainian government, which they have a little in the past, but not actually with any strength, is my view. They could have been much better with society than they have been.
Yeah, sure. And no corrupted top officials is in jail. Nobody.
No,
For
nobody.
Nobody.
No.
This is the main result.
No,
Nobody.
but soldiers are.
Yes, but
Soldiers are, and lots of them. People who fought for their country are in prison, but not corrupt officials, and that needs shouting loud and clear. And American officials need to be saying, this is upside down and back to front.
Yes.
And needs changing.
Yeah, people who are defending these top officials, or including, they are in jail. But the top officials that are corrupted, I cannot understand. Like, a lot of people are telling me, "Oh, okay, Zelensky is good. Why you're shelling on them, on him personally? Why you are telling that he's corrupted?" But I'm telling them, why Yermak, Tatarov, Smirnov, Shurmahua officially had all this publicly information about the corrupted cases were signed and appointed by him, by his decree, by his signature. They are still in the positions. For sure, yeah, it's a lot of people are telling, oh, it's wartime, it's not good to criticize president, he is at war, he needs to fight the external enemy, Russian army. But the internal enemy is as much important as the external.
Yeah, because the money's needed for the external. I mean, it's
Yes.
the two are directly linked.
Yes,
And
that's why we started all this protest all over the Ukrainian cities, in Kiev, in Zhytomyr, Odessa, Lviv, Kривий Ріг, Запоріжжя.
I think you just have to say, when people talk about this, you just have to say, and if the president came in your house and stole all your food, you wouldn't be very happy, and if your son has to go to war and dies because there isn't the proper equipment and there isn't the proper support for him, then you need to think like this, because this is the reality.
This is the fact. Yeah, this
This
is
is the
the human life. It's there is no government or somebody money. It's your money. It's your life of your
yeah, yeah,
beloved people and
that's
person.
right. That's right. That's
And
right.
what do you think? What Ukrainians can do more to prevent this situation, to help to fight the corruption?
I think that the most, and I've said this often, the strongest tool you have is the pen, and if and writing, and if Zelensky doesn't listen, then write to his wife. 100,000 letters to Mrs. Zelensky will have an effect. I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. And 100,000 letters to the wife of any official will have an effect, especially when television starts picking up the vans bringing the letters to someone's house. Or equally, if you can't gather if you don't want to gather, then all take one letter to the president's administration and hand it over to the guard. And if you all do that every weekend, the queue to hand over the letter to the guard will go on television, and it will have then it's writing. When people write and people can see it, then it's very hard to get away from that. So the education of people who don't understand has to come from people writing, and writing and explaining steadily and clearly. I'm going to say that Batusov does it in a very good way. Batusov writes very, very clear 2-paragraph, 3-paragraph pieces, and that's what's needed. Lots of that, and lots of letters, saying, up with this we shall not put, as they say. We're not happy. We're not happy because this is not happening. We're not happy with the judges. Why have you not fixed it? We're not happy with him being in prison when there's no evidence. Hey, we still haven't fixed the Sheremek case. We've still got 3 people on, accused of murder with no evidence, and nothing is happening on these things. And people must write about those, and they must say about them, it's not good enough. Because then gradually, hopefully, the system will begin to understand that the public is not happy. At the moment, all they think is, oh, well, all people will do is write on Facebook, and that's it.
Yes.
And that's it. We can ignore Facebook. And they do ignore Facebook. You don't see, apart from Arestovich, you don't see anybody else writing on Facebook. Maybe Danilovas occasionally writes something daft. But, the rest keep away from, it's just public relations things. Even worse, distractions. And there's a lot of distractions at the moment, which is a hybrid warfare activity. It's to distract from the main action, to get people's brains looking at, something else, which is television, sparkly, new. Arestovich's arguments about women and things like this is nonsense. Should be ignored. Because it's taking away from soldiers dying on the front line.
Yes.
And all the time, people who are, well-educated society needs to refocus back onto the front line all the time. Why are we doing this? Where is this happening? Don't tell us about all the drone units and all the drones. Why is 110 Brigade short of drones when there are drone manufacturers in other countries that could actually be producing them? And if there's no money, millions of them, and if there's no money, then get the money from the corrupt people. Take the money from those who've stolen it, and buy those drones immediately. Don't do something. I think also people should be writing better processes and better ways of working to the defense minister. The current procurement system is garbage. Lloyd George in World War One had a much better procurement system.
Yes.
In World War One, for goodness sakes, why can't we reproduce the procurement system where you agree with all the companies, you get them in, you agree the amount of profit, and then you tell them, we will buy everything you produce. with that much profit. That's the price, that's the profit, go away and produce them.
As soon
And
as
then,
possible.
and
Yeah.
that's what they did in the Second World War and in, you know, in America. And these companies were told, you know, the minimum is 50 planes, and they were churning out 120 or more, you know, in that sort of logic, because the public then could get involved in working in the company, making it. The company got its profit, whatever it was, 15%, and nobody argued. Now, these are procurement methods that are much quicker. So, and, you know, okay, if someone doesn't produce, put them in prison. It's very
Yes.
simple. It's very
If
simple.
he failed the contract, for example, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you pay when they deliver. So they have to go and get finance, and that's what the National Bank should be doing,
Yes.
is supporting our drone manufacturers, not trying to break them, but actually trying to support them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, in the Second World War, there was not kind of this argument as Vitkat, as like the corrupted pie that is needed to start any production in Ukraine. There was nothing about that. And in Ukraine, unfortunately, there are so many boundaries to start any production. Firstly, the corruption. Government authorities that are asking for every step $1, millions of dollars to connect to the electricity, to connect to water, to have the construction permit or something, and etc., and to have some special license for drones. One, manufacturing drone. Two,
I know.
It's crazy. And Glenn, I have a question from one of the subscribers that are watching us. Also, thank you for watching. Please like the video so we will have more views on the
Okay.
I'm just telling to all our subscribers. Denise Lysenka is asking, what is possible to have the same level for Ukraine as in US, when in Ukraine you have like thousands of dollars, and if the same situation will be in US, this politician will be fired immediately. And when people will come out, and why it's not happening in Ukraine?
Ask the president. That's the only answer. Ask the president. It's his business. It's the prime minister's business as well. And if the two, that's why you got to write to both. If the two of them can't sort this out, then they should not be president or prime minister, because this is a leadership issue. You know, nobody. I've not heard since the war started, since 2010. I have not heard anybody state clearly that corruption in my organization shall not happen. Have I heard that from head of the border guard? No. Have I heard it from interior minister? No. Have I heard it from head of police? No. Defense minister? No. Polterek? Definitely not. Poroshenko? No. Nobody said there will be no corruption in my organization. You know, nobody.
It's not popular.
It's not popular. Even I'm sorry, but even Zaluzny has not said that, and it needs to be said. And also responsibility needs to go upwards. You know, all these people making money, all these colonels making money in these organizations around the country, all those organizations are directly responsible to the army headquarters. Has anybody in the army headquarters gone, inspected, and put them in prison, or tried to put them in prison? No, because it's unpopular. So it has to come from the top. It has to come from the president, who has to say corruption must stop tomorrow, today. It must stop, no more. And, you know, as I said, and then an amnesty, hand your money in because we need it, or we're going to find you. And when we find you, it's life imprisonment. And we will change the law tomorrow so that it is life imprisonment for corruption, whether that is 50 euros, 1,000 euros, $1,000 or whatever.
Yes.
It's the only way. It has to be. It's a disease. It's a disease, and it's like It's a cancer. You have to cut it out. You have to cut it out. You can't manage it.
You cannot make treatment every day. No, it's not possible.
You can't. You can't. It has to be gangrene. The leg has to be cut off. It's as simple as that. And if we don't do that, it's going to keep going, and it's going to get worse. And this is the president's challenge. And it's not that difficult. He's just got to say it, and he's got to stop it.
Yes, and he has actually all power to do that. He has the parliament, the cabinet of ministers, the judges, everybody is from his party. It's his friends or relatives or the people who are appointed by him personally. So he cannot tell that, the parliament is not mine. I cannot do. No, it's your parliament.
It's his. He's got the power. It's his job. It's his job. This is the one thing he's got to do. If he wants to win, if he's really serious about winning, he has to do this.
Yes, I totally
agree. If he doesn't do this, then he's not serious about winning. The corollary is absolutely clear. If he doesn't do it, he's not serious about winning, whatever he says.
The most important that what he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actions first, as I'm telling. And army first. So it should be army first and no corruption. So this is very easy. Just not to take money from the budget. That's all. Very easy. Very easy. And unfortunately, we have a lot of questions. I'm not sure, everybody is telling you, thank you for all your support that you're doing to Ukraine, a lot of, so about 7,000 already viewers in Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. Thank you very much for all your questions. Irina Kostic is asking, what you're supposed to do with the judicial system in Ukraine? What do you think?
I know that there are some very good people working on trying to change the judicial system at the moment. But again, we have a justice ministry and we have a justice minister. And the justice minister should be laying out clear guidelines for sentencing. I mean, political guidelines, which judges don't have to follow, but which it would be a good idea if they did follow. And one thing that the Justice Ministry should be saying is that judges throughout have got to actually to check the evidence. And if there's no evidence, there is no case. They should not be holding on to anybody because someone politically says this is a good idea. If the SBU have messed up or the police have messed up, and they don't have proper evidence, then that person should not be held in prison more than the legal amount of time, whatever that legal amount of time is. And one thing they should have is, clear KPIs, that's something you know well, and clear political limits on how long someone can stay inside prison without a charge being laid against them, with evidence, and then a judge or a prosecutor should check that evidence. And this is the Justice Ministry's job. They're not just there to pay the judges, and they get too much money, most of them. So that, rather than making them independent, it's gone the other way. It's made them greedy. And then they should be looking at judges that don't do their job. I'm sorry, but we have to make a law that removes them. It's not. Judicial independence is fine, but if a judge is not actually upholding the law, then he's not doing his job. And therefore he should, one warning, okay, 2 warnings, okay, 3 warnings, by law, he should be removed. If he's not upholding the law 3 times, out. And European unions are not going to argue with that. So there's no argument about this sort of thing. Independence is fine, but you must have political oversight of how the system is working, because it's supposed to work for the country. And that's what the Justice Minister is there for. Justice Minister. Remember that? Justice Minister. It's written into his job title. And if there is no justice, he is failing his job as a minister, and he should resign.
Sure.
And until until those 3 people are released from the Sheremet case, because there is no evidence, and the people who concocted the evidence are in prison, are charged themselves, there is no justice in Ukraine. 33,000 soldiers, I'm told, inside prison. Should be a judicial review on all of them, or a civilian board to actually to check the evidence on each one of them. And if it's not right, out. Let them join the army. Give them money because they've been kept illegally. And having run a prison, I understand this sort of thing. People who are in prison, who should not be in prison, should be paid by the country for having put them inside illegally. I do not believe 33,000 of them have done the law. And what's this last nonsense? Sorry, while we're on the subject of 128 Brigade commander being charged for digging holes. There is a very simple rule on justice, which is that you can break a minor law if it is upholding the larger law. In other words, if you have to smash down a door to let people out of a burning building, you are not guilty of smashing down the door, even though it's actually breaking the law. Maybe.
Sure.
So that is a principle. Hey, and if the judges can't understand that principle, then they shouldn't be a judge, should they?
Yes, for sure.
So I hope, was that Denise, I think you said, although anyway, I hope that answers their question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I will actually ask him. It's a very good question. And not to take a lot of your time, just last question. What is your perception for the next year? So a lot of people, they're telling that the war will be over. In spring we will have the presidential elections, because Zelensky doesn't want to sign any documents with Putin, and he wants to prolong his term. And after the prolongation, he will sign the agreement, as there will be the NATO summit in Washington for 75th anniversary of NATO, and Biden wants to win the elections. And so they need to stop the war with some kind of agreement with which Ukrainian people will not be happy for sure. What are your thoughts like for the next?
I think a lot of people are mixing things up, and this is all the sort of conspiracy theories. I think each one needs to be taken separately. First of all, the war's not going to stop in a hurry. We're not winning at the moment.
Yes.
We may be going forward in little places, but basically, until there is an understanding by the government that soldiers have got to be equipped properly with vehicles, with ambulances, with medical kit, with drones and everything, we're not going to win.
Yes.
We've got to have that. And I'm sorry, but ATACMS may make a difference, and F-16 both may make a difference. But we've still got to go and take the ground. And I don't see Russia allowing their soldiers to all pull back without stopping. I mean, they may go back, but then they'll try and come back again. So I don't see that this is going to stop them. They have to be pushed out of the country. And at the moment, our push is not strong enough, and that is because a lot of people do not understand that you can't have a strategy without the correct capabilities. And the correct capabilities are infantry brigades that are properly equipped and trained. And that is not the case at the moment. So the strategy is trying to work on half measures. I mean, why does Poroshenko? Why does Zelensky want elections? Well, to stay in power. I don't think it's anything whatsoever to do with signing agreements with Putin. Although it may be, but that would be a very, very big ask for Zelensky to do that, because the public is. I don't think the public will allow it, and I don't see any drive from America to stop this against the wishes of the Ukrainian public at all. I mean, there's a lot of good people in America. And all of those are very pro that we have to keep going on this. and that they are taking long-term measures on things like increasing ammunition, increasing the outflow of other things that the country needs. But you know, the US attitude is definitely linked to corruption. No question. Now we're being interrupted by someone's making noises.
Yeah,
Are you
I
still
totally
there?
agree with you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
There was something. Oh, no, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for your thoughts and for your knowledge and for all your support of Ukraine. And it's priceless. And let's keep on fighting the corruption, and hopefully the victory of Ukraine will be very soon, and it will be a totally different country with no corruption and no the fifth enemies. that
This is not easy. This is war. And as you said, you know, I mean, glory to our heroes, and my goodness, there are a lot of them. And I do not hold. I finish with this last bit, which I don't hold this argument that the best are all dying in Ukraine. No, there are lots and lots of best out there still. Thousands, tens of thousands of best. Every single one of them that's fighting is best, and is the beauty of Ukraine. Men and women, some remarkable ladies out there as well. So you know, Ukraine is still strong in lots of ways. We just have to beat corruption.
Yes, this is what I'm doing. And thank you
Yeah.
for helping.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much, and Slava Ukraini.
Slava. Героям слава.
Yeah, thank you.